All right, welcome everyone. We're going to go ahead and get the meeting started. We're going to do the call the Common Council meeting to order, and let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Michelle, if you could help us out with the roll call, please.
Yes, I will. Jeff Crickon is an excused absence tonight. Jim Barron?
Here.
Jackie Valdez is an excused absence tonight. Wayne Dean?
Here.
Matt Grimmer?
Here.
Kevin Maples?
Here.
Tim Eicher?
Here.
Kent Atwell?
Present.
Tom Hafner?
Here.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, item number 1, motion to convene into closed session per Wisconsin statute 19.851G, conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved. More specifically, excessive property assessment claims from Kohl's, Colders, Walmart, and Hardee's. So looking for a motion to convene into closed session.
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
Okay, I need a roll call vote on that. Barron?
Aye.
Dean?
Aye.
Grimmer?
Aye.
Maples?
Aye.
Eicher?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, now we are in closed session. Into open session.
So move.
I'll second.
Okay, if I can get a roll call, Jim Barron,
Aye.
Wayne Dean,
Aye.
Matt Grimmer,
Aye.
Kevin Maples,
Aye.
Tim Eicher.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, citizens of Delafield comments pertaining to the consent agenda. Seeing no citizens, there will be no comments. That is closed. Looking for a motion on the consent agenda.
So move.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, citizens' comments pertaining to items not on the consent agenda. Seeing no citizens, those comments are closed, and we'll move on to committee reports. 6A licenses.
We have discussion and action on temporary Class B retail license for Christ the King Lutheran Church for a conversation with John Gerda on March 24th, 2019.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes.
Thank you.
6B, Planning Commission.
a-
Stryker.
I have a brief report. We had a meeting at the end of January, and there's a report on 4 items. One, we were approached by Soulfire Art Studio. They're purchased a property in Oneida and Maine, and bringing it up because if you're familiar with their current location, it's just south of the Ace Hardware on
on the end of the
83 and
strip
94.
mall.
Yeah, and so they bought a piece of property and they're renovating it, and they negotiated with the city on types of things that they can and can't do. It's a non-conforming property and they're doing some improvements. Be really nice to have, so we're really looking forward to how this moves forward, and it's going to increase parking and put a sidewalk in and all sorts of great stuff. So we hope everything works well for them, and we're glad they're coming. The other one is, I'm just bringing this one up. It's just one property, but we've seen this several times in the Plan Commission over the last year or two. It is somebody looking to develop a home on the lake, and they were asking for our opinion on an exception to having more square footage in the house than the zoning ordinance allows for. And so we didn't take any action. There was a disparity between their opinion of what their square footage was and the building inspector. But it's a common theme where people are trying to build up the lake. It's good for the property values on the lake, but we're looking to strike a balance between what the ordinance says and whether or not exceeding those types of square footages has a negative impact on the surrounding property values. So just keep your eye on those if you're following the different Plan Commission agendas, because we see it a lot. I don't think that's brand new, but it's just something that I've never brought up before. Another point of interest is the piece of property. It's been in front of the Plan Commission before. It's 1712 Milwaukee Street. It's between Fishbones and the condominiums. There's going to be a public hearing next month, just next week, actually Wednesday, to change the zoning from R6 to R4 is what they're looking to do. That's actually a decrease in zoning, because unlike what I just was talking about, people looking to ask for too much. That's been through the ringer there, and we just haven't felt that the zoning is appropriate for the property. We've got an opportunity with someone presenting something to the city where they're looking to put in a 2-family structure there, and believe it or not, R6 won't allow something that small. So we're trying to strike a balance between what the property allows for and what is probably a more optimal use of the property, and that's coming up. So there's a public hearing on that. Anyone interested should come speak to it. Also, we had a lot of discussion on Chick-fil-A and the entire development and what's been entailed over the past few weeks in their desire to develop that property and what's in front of us. They're asking the Plan Commission to grant an exception to the amount of green space that they're allowed, or that's mandated for that particular parcel, knowing that they're the last undeveloped piece of land on that entire development, which I think it goes all the way to Best Buy. And so different deals have been struck over the past 20-something years to allow development to occur, and their piece of property and their plan is in keeping with the proportions for the green space for a single parcel, but they're looking, because of how the property ended up being developed, they need an exception to our conditional use, I believe, or developer's agreement, because they don't have all the green space left for the whole development. If that, I don't know if if I've lost everyone here or not, but in essence, one or both of the newspapers had it right. They're looking for slightly less, or approximately 1% difference in the green space initially negotiated 20-something years ago for the entire parcel, so that they can go ahead with their current development. And that's up for a public hearing at our next Plan Commission meeting next week. So we're going to hear arguments for, and any citizens' comments who wants to talk about the merits or opposition to that should come. But I accuse myself of lobbying for it, because that's how all of my statements were being presented. I felt like, based on everything that's going on with the property there, that to be fair to the balance of the Plan Commission, we're split on the idea that we're going to grant an exception, and some of us were for it, some of us were against it. So come speak next Wednesday if you're interested in advancing the cause there. Aside from that, that would be it. Come to our Plan Commission meeting next Wednesday if you're interested.
Great, thank you very much. 6C, Lake Welfare Committee, I know that meeting was canceled. To be rescheduled, do we have a rescheduled date for that?
Next month.
Next month, okay. 6D, Park and Rec Commission, Mr. Grimmer?
Park and Rec had a meeting last week. Two items I'll share. One was the approval of deer management to bow hunt in, sharpshoot in Lois Jensen and Oakwood. And the other past item was, if you're familiar with the dam in downtown, there's two signs, one that says dam and one that says takeout. And right at those points is the actual takeout where you can get on and off your canoe. Park and Rec kind of deemed that a hazard because they are kind of sharp and oblong and in the way. So we requested that Public Works take out not the dam sign, but the takeout sign. So take out the takeout.
I need to check on that, but I think that those are required signage.
I thought we did check on that, and the takeout was not required because we
Okay.
made that request.
Who did you check with?
Jim checked with, I thought he checked with you.
This is the first time hearing of it. So
Really? Okay, well, if you could check on
Yep.
that would be great, because we would love to take out either one or both of those signs, just for aesthetics and safety.
I know for a fact that there was probably about 20 years ago. When we had a dam inspection, one of the comments were that we were missing those signs and they're required. And so we'll follow up on that and see.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. 6F, Delaware Commission, Mr. Maples?
No meeting, but there is a meeting tomorrow night at 5 o'clock.
Sounds good, thank you. 6G, Police Commission, Jeff's not here. 6H, Library Board, Jackie, she's not here. 6I, Board of Zoning Appeals, no meeting.
No meeting, no report.
6J, Promotion and Tourism Commission, Mr. Barron.
It was moved till tomorrow.
Oh, that's right, that one was moved. 6K, Lake Country Fire Commission, no meeting. 6L, Lake Country Fire Board.
No meeting, no report.
6M, Tree Board.
No meeting, no report.
6N, Deer Management Committee, Mr. Dean.
We are standing right now at 71 deer harvested that I know of, 18 through the sharpshooter program that started about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. 53 deer through the bow hunting program, combination of private hunters and in the 4 city stands. So the sharpshooters will still be continuing for the rest of this month with the goal of getting to 50, and they're confident that they'll be able to achieve that goal with the other properties that we've now will be adding. So they will be adding and shooting at night at Lois Jensen and Oakwood. So we're pretty happy with the success so far. And
Yeah.
the deer have been donated to different people. Delafield citizens have requests. We've had over 80 different people sign up and request deer meat. And so we're trying to give it to Delafield citizens first. And then we have plenty of other people participating, hunters and everybody. So we'll be allocating all the deer meat that is harvested to people.
Great. Sounds good. All right, Mayor's Report, 8A, discussion and action to appoint Matt Grimmer to Lake Country Fire and Rescue Board, term set from January 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2020.
Also move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, passes. Oh,
Thanks.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, Matt.
oh. I thought I heard a no.
Thank yous.
8B, discussion and action to.
Excuse me for a second, I'm sorry. Public Works,
Did I miss that?
E.
Oh, I'm sorry. We'll go back to 6E, Public Works. I missed that one. Mr. Dean?
Couple of items. First of all, the Public Works Committee at their February 6th meeting approved the 2019 Delafield Street Improvement Program and the timeline and recommend the council. We approved 2 new handicap parking stalls on Well Street near Revere's Tavern. And then, in keeping with what the Plan Commission, what Tim was talking about, we approved the site plan and engineering for Soulfire Art Studio on 634 Main Street.
So you got that sidewalk leveling figured out? Great. Sounds good, thank you. Okay, back to 8B. Discussion and action to appoint Roger Yolo to Lake Country Fire and Rescue Commission. Term set from January 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, passes. And just one other thing I wanted to add on to the mayor's report was, we have this referendum coming up, and I just wanted some input from the council as to ideas or suggestions you might have for public meetings, or more or less, how do we get the word out to inform our citizens about the referendum? If you have any comments now, great. Otherwise, we can talk later, or you can send it to the.
If we want to follow a process, put it on the agenda of a meeting that's coming up, I would say in March, and maybe we should have a discussion.
I agree.
I mean, people are watching, it seems to be the way we can communicate. We can post that we're going to be doing it. And if there's some citizens that have some questions that would want to come and ask us, it would be on the agenda.
So just because of a normal way we run a city council, there's not some back and forth necessarily for question answering. Could we do it at city council more as a presentation, and then maybe have a separate standalone meeting where we can really get into questions and answers with
Can't we
citizens?
post that there'll be a topic on the agenda where we would take questions?
How about a special order of business at the beginning?
Special order.
Where
Okay.
we do a presentation and then do Q&A,
Okay.
and then have it as a discussion where then normal rules would apply.
I mean,
I don't recall seeing that done, but if
No,
we
if
can do that,
post-
great.
I mean, I think if we post it, that would be appropriate. If there are those that are concerned or have questions, they would add to the public discourse if they would bring them at a point where everyone knows we're going to answer them.
Yeah, it could be that the special order of business is, I mean, it's like a public information meeting, and maybe have the city engineer and that involved.
Yeah, so the March 4th meeting, I won't be here. So if we wanted me to be here, we could do it on March 18th.
And actually, I won't be here for the 4th either, so.
And neither will I.
Uh-oh,
Oh,
maybe there's no meeting March 4th.
Jim and Kevin so far? Okay.
I'm at a conference in Madison, I can't come back.
I'll be in Australia.
Okay. Then I think we'll do our other items for sure, our Facebook, our Channel 25, just reminding of the referendum and basic statements to the facts around the referendum.
I think it's a great idea if we would discuss it for a period of time. And if there were some folks with a couple questions that would help us out. So,
Sounds good. All right, thanks for the feedback. Okay, number 9, new business. Discussion and action regarding a request from We Energies for an easement on the city well house property located at 2900 Village Square Drive for the purpose of connecting a second power source and creating a looped feed to provide improved electric reliability for the well house facility and We Energies, residential and commercial customers along Vedelson Road and Village Square Drive. That's one heck of a summary. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so We Energies, they are constantly taking a look at their system and identifying weak spots in the system, and then they prioritize those as far as where they are able to spend their dollars on beefing up the system. One area they've identified is our well house and also their customers along Vedelson Road and in the Village Square development. They're on what's called a dead-end feed system where that area is basically served by one line of power, and if that goes down, everybody's out. And there's an opportunity for a relatively quick fix that would loop the system. It would require a easement on the city's property for them to do that, and that would allow them to dig a bore pit in Vedelson Road, and then underground they would bore the line into the existing transformer at the well house. It would be a pretty minor project as far as disturbance and whatnot, and therefore staff's recommendation is to grant this easement for them to do that project.
So no new poles, no new,
Correct, everything will be underground.
all right. Sounds good. Make a motion to approve the easement for We Energies.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, passes. 9B, discussion and action regarding the proposed memorandum of understanding between Delasoda LLC applicant and the city of Delafield regarding authorization by the applicant for the city to initiate design work for modification improvements to Gulf Road, with the cost being reimbursement by the applicant and a $650,000 applicant contribution towards the design and construction of the modification and improvements to Gulf Road. Mr. Hafner.
Yeah, so we've been in negotiations with Delasoda for the Chick-fil-A development, and this memorandum of understanding primarily accomplishes two things. First of all, it authorizes the initiation of the design work for the road improvements, and that design work will be reimbursed by the applicant. If at any point in time they decide to pull out, they can stop the work on the design, and then their costs are terminated at that point. They might do so if they don't get the approvals they want from Plan Commission, or if the referendum fails, things like that. So this gives us the opportunity to design the work in a timely fashion that would allow us to hit a substantial completion of the work at the end of September, which is something that the Chick-fil-A restaurant wants, and it also is something that our existing retailers want from us as well. They don't want to see any construction happening in that corridor in November when they have their primary retail season with the holiday shopping and whatnot. Then the other thing it accomplishes is if we do get, if their development is approved by Plan Commission and Common Council and the referendum passes, then they are agreeing to a $650,000 contribution towards the design and construction of the road improvements.
I'll so move.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Item 10, report of city officials. Mr. Hafner.
I have no report this evening.
Clerk. Sean.
Item 10B, discussion and action on the voucher list, if I could, please.
I move to approve the voucher list.
Second?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Passes.
And then the second item that I have is actually discussion and action on new fees. I've kind of been going over the fee schedule as I've been here. I know it's been revised a couple of times. And typically, what they've done here is they've given you an entire slew of fees that they'd like you to pass all in one evening, but I would rather give you a couple at a time so that we can actually give this some thought before we implement a chunk of them. So I have 3 here for you tonight. You can either approve them all at once, not approve any of them, or approve individually. So the first item I have is the conceptual design fee for $150. And the purpose of this one would be if someone comes in with a large-scale plan, they usually have Roger go over the plan, and sometimes it doesn't make it to a committee, commission, or a board, but he does have to spend the time, and thus the City Hall employees also have to spend the time organizing and getting these items together just so that they don't go anywhere. So we were hoping to implement a fee of $150 just to cover some of that cost. The second one would be the Public Works fee. We currently charge $150 for Plan Commission for somebody to appear in front of Plan Commission, but we don't actually have a fee for the Public Works. So we were kind of going to make that even out a little bit. Some of the people who go to Plan Commission ultimately have to go to Public Works, and so we would just charge them another fee for the $150 to cover some of those costs as well. And then the next one we have is a street closing fee based on the number of barricades. We currently don't have any sort of recourse for the amount of time and/or funds that we have the DPW go out and close roads with barricades. So we were hoping to get a per barricade fee, which is typically what other communities in the area have done, anywhere between $5 and $15 per barricade. So we were looking for the top end of that at 15, but that's entirely up to you guys. So,
How
questions?
many barricades does it take to close a road?
The next thing that we have, I think, on the docket is the parade for the 4th of July. So I haven't counted how many crossroads there are for that, but the application for that has already come in, so we wouldn't back charge them, but it would be something to the effect, that'd be a fairly large number of roads. You can either say that it's a major thoroughfare that we'd charge for, or it would be, small crossroads. It's up to you guys, but it would be a significant amount, I think, if it was per barricade.
So what groups would be paying this? I can just see some of our philanthropic folks showing up and saying, well, now we're doing this for Delafield.
Yep.
Right.
I
Yeah.
understand that we're trying to identify costs and responsibility for those things, so.
I mean, if you did, 15 for the maybe Genesee Street, but maybe 5 for
Well, I'm
maybe
not-
a
I'm just
smaller
talking
street or
about
something, I'm not sure.
Is what groups are going to be paying these fees?
Whomever wants to close the street for either, parties or parades or something to
Yeah.
that end.
So who's the applicant for the 4th of July?
American
That would be
Legion.
the American Legion, yeah.
American Legion. This would hit St. John's Military Academy for their, I think it's homecoming parade they do. Probably a lot of chamber events. And then they certainly do take exception to the city charging fees for what they view as events that are positive for the community as a whole.
Yeah. So I see where Jim's going. I kind of agree. Especially like Fourth of July,
Right.
even like a bike race. I mean, I get that there's a permit process that goes into those as well, right?
It's a event permit.
It might be, that might be a place if we're looking to recoup effort, to look more at what those different event permits are and are for, if it's private, public. I don't know. I mean,
I have a real hard time giving a fee to them, anybody who's a
How about
nonprofit.
the extent of the event?
You know, if you're making money on an event, okay, maybe we can figure something out, but I'd have a real hard time charging the American Legion a fee to set up the 4th of July parade
Think
for the
about, yeah,
benefit
fun
of
runs.
everybody in the city of Delafield, which doesn't do anything but cost them time and money. They make nothing, right? Maybe they sell some things if people come back to the American Legion after, but
Is this a huge source for the city? Is this going to dig us out of a hole?
We already are losing a lot of time and effort for the DPW to set these things up for people, so the $50 that we charge for the event fee really doesn't cover any of what we end up absorbing as the city, so it was just a
Should we just change the
those are-
event fee?
So some of these applicants are more than willing to pay fees and already pay like for police fees and stuff like that, the bike races and stuff like that. I think St. John's Academy pays for extra police services for homecoming and things like that. So there are some that are more than willing to pay these fees, but yeah, the American Legion seems like one that, you know, they're doing a 4th of July parade as a
Something
thing for the community.
Yeah.
And you would hate to ever get to a point where, you know, this
Where
turns
we're
them
gonna charge
off
you
and
for
causes them not to want to do it anymore or
Well,
anything
and
like
I even
that.
see the Chamber of Commerce, some of those events downtown Delafield, I think we should get our costs covered. And-
if the chamber's having an event and they're profiting from the
Yeah,
event,
well, and so I don't.
I don't feel so bad about it.
Yeah, but I think we're gonna have to define it a little bit.
Do you want to do like a, where if they want the fee waived, they go in front of a board or commissioner committee, or is that too much?
Rather have it black and white in a policy with who pays and who
Yeah.
doesn't.
I hate to make people,
I
I don't want to add to bureaucracy,
I guess-
if it's not absolutely
I
necessary.
think we should implement this fee, but it won't be charged in the case of parades that celebrate national holidays.
Could
Yeah,
we
but you're
have,
going to go down a rabbit hole of, well, they get a waiver, but we don't. Park and Rec passed for fish hatchery. We passed, if you want to avoid the fee for the fish hatchery, you have to come before Park and Rec. But I agree that it would be, I mean, expanding it exponentially for all the events that occur in Delafield is, like you said, a bureaucratic nightmare.
is there an accounting of past events where we've closed the street, where we could see the list of? I
We
mean,
can get you a
We'd
list,
have
yeah.
we'd have to create that.
I mean, I don't want
Out
to
of
create
past event
work to
packets.
get $15. But I'm interested in I'm interested in the entirety of the examples that we're dealing with. Like, what's the net on the bottom line? What's the bottom line of
My
what we're
thought
talking
would,
about?
maybe we should collect the data for this year and consider it at budget time
That makes a ton of sense.
Okay.
for next year.
Kudos for putting it together. I mean, I wasn't aware that, I'm aware that we're closing roads and that there's work involved, but not whose department's treading water and who's, you know, losing work that could be, that's demanded elsewhere, I should say. I mean, we're not trying to make money, but something isn't getting done when they're doing this, and that's a
Correct.
cost, and so I get that. So I think an accounting of what, you know, like Jim suggested, I think that'd be a good idea.
So any other feedback or comments on either item 1 or item 2, the conceptual design fee for $150 or the public works fee for $150?
Well, I've been here with designs for things, but I guess it's usually just an envelope size.
Yeah,
I
something
just
tiny.
wonder, you know, you're gonna have some flack when people have an idea and they walk in the door and you gotta pay money to get an opinion, but
Yeah, once in a while we get people that say, hey, my drainage isn't working good in front of my property. I
Yeah.
want to come to the Public Works Committee and complain about it. Now, put me on the agenda. Do they pay a fee?
No.
yeah.
Is that how it's intended?
Roger would tell us when the person would be eligible for a fee typically. He will readily give out his personal opinion on some of those things and not charge a fee. This is for the ones that actually take up some substantial time where they are back and forth between our office several times and utilize our staff for stuff, so.
seems,
I don't have a problem with trying to recover our costs. I don't think the taxpayers should support some of these services that relate to private development. So, I mean, we
So-
started fees years ago for that reason, but.
So the conceptual design fee and the public works fee are at the discretion of the city planner? Is that what I'm hearing?
City planner, or if Mike Court has any input on it, is for the public works one specifically too, so. But, you know.
can we have those a little defined, so we don't have a bill being received without notice? You know, if someone has kind of the guidelines, like a consultation into a process question, or what does it take to advance this cause? Those calls, are received. It sounds like what you said. He's doing, and I think that's what part of his job, description is. But when it gets some definition of the threshold where you're crossing to. Well, both of these say placement on the agenda, but
Right, yeah.
well, actually not the first one. But maybe if we could have something that defined it for the person who was looking for so you've got someone with a drainage issue in their backyard between two neighbors, and they want to know what it takes, and they are they kind of realize, well, this is going to be a lot of work, and they walk away, and then they get a bill in the mail. I don't think that'd be fair, but.
Well, I think we're going to have some guidelines that say at the first point of meaningful contact, which is it is in the real estate business, that they have knowledge of this.
Yeah.
They need to be signing something saying they're taking the
This is
step.
what I'm going to say. So would it be fair to say that these fees might only apply once you've signed I'm sorry, what is the document that people, basically the blank check?
Professional services
Professional
reimbursement.
services agreement, that these would not apply or be applicable until you've signed that agreement? Because that basically tells you, hey, you're going over a line, and now we're going to start charging you
Someone would
for
need to-
anything and everything we feel is necessary.
Someone would be needing to sign the acknowledgement that they're paying that fee.
I
That's
think
kind of
that
my
would be
point.
applicable to the first one, but for the public works fee, it would be similar to the plan commission fee, where that one, once you get on the agenda, that's what it would be. That's when you would get charged that. It wouldn't be based on the professional services agreement like the first one
The
would.
first one, but
Yeah.
Yeah, and I understand at this point, or people should understand, when you're on the agenda at Public Works, that our professionals take the time to render an opinion
Right.
to the board. So we're paying for that. I mean, in the Plan Commission, it's pretty obvious because Roger's doing that. But even at Public Works today, it's pretty rare that something isn't considered by Mike Court
Correct.
prior to. So I can understand charging something up front.
one seems kind of easy for me. I don't know. Other people feel similarly? Knowing they're signing the,
Well, no, I think you have to have something that people acknowledge that there's an obligation. And I guess that maybe you gotta go to where it's it's a flat fee. But
all right, I'm
I
not
mean,
seeing
I-
anybody
I-
jump into any motions here.
I mean,
So,
I have some experience.
you want us
with
to bring
this.
it back, or?
We've done some, development, and so I'm aware that the clock starts when you make a call.
So there's plenty of cases where you're paying the $150 fee for a plan commission approval, and you may or may not realize that you're going to be deferred to Public Works.
That is part of the discussion now between Roger and the plan commission applicant, whether or not they'll go to Public Works. We're going to make Roger let them know up front.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's decided at plan commission that they want, how this culvert's going to affect the turn lane for traffic, and then it ends up on the
Yep. And just keep in mind, I mean, there's a lot of work that goes behind making that happen.
No, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I've served both. I get it. I guess I'm definitely fine with number 2. As long as I don't know.
I mean, I guess if someone can frame it in a form of a motion for the next meeting or something, I'd probably support doing some of this. But I don't know if I'm prepared to make one tonight.
How about if we just reword them, give you a little bit more detail, follow up on some of the requests that Tim asked, and then we'll put it on the next
Yeah, I
agenda.
think
How's that work?
And have a structure or a process in place for if you're going to the planning commission, if you're going to public works, that Roger has, expressed this in writing and they've signed the professional, whatever it is. So that process is in place and clear.
Okay.
So you want the conceptual on the professional services agreement as well as the plan commission and public works?
I would like acknowledgement by, whoever the petitioner is so that everything is clear and concise and aware.
Because not the entire fee would be a pass-through to Roger or Mike or anything like that. Part of the
No,
fee would
No,
be
we get- yeah, I get
that.
okay, retained by us.
Right.
Okay, so just a little bit more detail. On all 3 of them, or just 1 and 3, or?
Well, Tim had some specific comments on 3, and then I think it was just the process
Well,
detail on 1 and 2. Like
Right.
you'd have to sign this agreement in case of number 1, but number 2 would have to have some other document you'd have to sign to acknowledge that you know that taking this next step is going to cost you this fee.
Yes.
So if we have people start to sign for plan commission and public works, does that mean that we're going to have them sign for every fee that we impose on them for other stuff too?
Well, I know we have lots of them, but I would have some kind of one-pager that two petitioners for these committees, here are all the costs.
Like an invoice bill type
Well,
thing?
Well, we have a menu right now.
The menu,
Yeah, we
put it on the
do.
menu. I mean, we've got the flow chart
Yeah.
with what happens. If you get to this stage, here's what the fees are.
Yeah.
And just add it to that.
Okay,
So I
so you
think
want
for
me to
1 and
add
2.
it to the flow
And
chart?
I think number 3 we put on ice until we do a review of what's going on this year.
Yeah.
Agree.
We can track it now moving forward to the budget in fall and take it
Okay.
up then.
So 1 and 2 on the flow chart, bring it back the next meeting, and then for the third one, we're going to look at all of 19 and kind of get an
Yeah.
overview?
Correct.
And I like the phrase, it's on ice until budget time.
Yeah.
Aren't too many street closers right now.
Okay, great. Thank you for the feedback.
Thank you.
We are on to 10C, council request for future agenda items. Any requests? Seeing none, refer you to number 11, correspondence. And seeing no further business, number 12, we are now adjourned.